Hi, welcome to the Village of Eden podcast. My name is Nadia, your host. Welcome back for season 2, y'all. Y'all, it's been a minute. If this is your first time here in the Village of Eden podcast, welcome. If you've been with us since season 1, then welcome back. Thank you for sticking around and coming back for this new season. So y'all, I have to tell y'all about what has been happening and a short little discussion for today. So the last time that I recorded an episode was almost 3 months ago, and y'all have to know that immediately after that last episode, I was fighting for my life. I experienced the worst spiritual warfare I have ever experienced, in being aware of it at least. And honestly, I am literally just now coming out of it maybe a week ago. And what kickstarted it was believing a trick from the enemy and kind of opening that door. And from there, it just was downhill. So a little warning for some, maybe you already know this or have already considered it, but at the beginning of March, which is the same month that we finished season 1, I did a 3-day fast, and I was under the ignorant impression from something that I heard, I believe, that was along the lines of, if you're in the spirit, like as far as in prayer or in an atmosphere in the spirit, then the enemy can't speak, something like that. And so I did this fast, and the Lord told me something before the fast, which is what led me to fast. And in the fast, something came up, and I attached what the Lord said to that thing. And honestly, when the thing came up, I was really anxious on the inside, and obviously we know that the Lord doesn't bring anxiety, confusion, or any of those things. And I just kind of passed it off as nerves, like happy nerves. But the false impression that I was under was that the enemy can't speak in atmospheres of worship or fasting and consecration to the Lord. And obviously, in the middle of this spiritual warfare, the Lord reminded me that Jesus was tempted, 1, while he was fasting, and 2, immediately after his fast. In the beginning, before he started his ministry, when he fasted for the 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and then the enemy tempted him with those 3 times after the fast. And one of those things, the last one, when he brought him up to a high place and showed him all of the kingdoms and things of the earth, and said that if he would just bow to him, he would give him all of those things to rule over. And that temptation is one of a premature blessing, because as we know, Jesus is seated forever at the right hand of the Father, right? And he will come back to establish his reign at his second coming. So Jesus ruling over the earth, all the kingdoms, was already going to happen. The purpose from the Father for Jesus anyway. But what the enemy tried to do, aside from getting him to bow to him, is to give that to him prematurely without process. And God is not like that. Even if he gives a promise, especially when he gives a promise in a word, he is not going to give you that thing until you are actually ready for it. And there are times as humans, as people, as children of God, so imagining yourself as a child, what he's been showing me kind of myself as is like as a teenager in the spirit with him, because we know teenagers in regular life are not defiant, but many teenagers, especially when you get to like 17, 18, 19, seniors in high school, many of them think that they know everything. And when you try to tell them something, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. They may not take heed to what you're saying, like, okay, whatever, yeah, I know that already, until they actually go through something or experience something. And then it's like, oh, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. So God, being the perfect Father, will not give gifts or give you things, even if it is a promise, knowing that it could destroy you if you're not ready. So he works through processes and development, and he may give you a promise, but that doesn't mean that it's going to come immediately. Many times you will have to go through things to develop your character, develop your spiritual self, whether it be discernment, strength, awareness, dependence on him. And God wants to develop you until you are truly ready to receive the promise that he gave you. He will not give it to you prematurely. And in ignorance or haste, we can sometimes want the promise sooner than it's time, or when the enemy presents something, because a counterfeit almost always comes first. Because we know that it was a promise from God, we may jump too quickly to accept or attach to the counterfeit that the enemy presents, because he knows when to come, whether you're at a weak point, or it says that he comes as an angel of light. So he's not coming obviously deceitful. It's going to come as a half truth, not an outright lie, to where you question it. And if we do like Adam and Eve did, where we don't take it back to the Father, or don't wait for the Father to respond and really show you where it's coming from or what it is, that we could prematurely attach to it, holding on to a promise that we heard from the Lord without bringing it back to him and waiting for him to show us what it really is. So God works in processes. And that fast that I did was after a word from the Lord, and the enemy presented a counterfeit in the midst of it. And instead of initially paying attention to how I was feeling and accepting that that wasn't from the Lord, I went along with it and prayed in the process. And that's not right. I knew God would say things in the beginning of that told me that this wasn't from him, but he allowed it for this reason, so that I could be aware and know and share with y'all that the enemy will come with a counterfeit first. And if you haven't been through the process, it may not be from the Lord. Take that back to the Lord, because he will give you things when you are actually ready. There's scripture about how earthly parents give gifts to their children and being evil or sinful. If we give good gifts, how much better and more will the perfect Father give gifts to his children? So he's not going to give you anything that'll destroy you. He's not going to give you anything out of the right timing. So from accepting that and going in it, it allowed space for the enemy to creep in and choke out things from the Lord in me, in the spirit. And I told y'all, it literally just lifted like a week ago. So from March to the end of May, I was in this warfare. And even though I recognized what was going on with this situation and removed myself from it well over a month ago, the spiritual implications and recovery took time. I was still trying to get myself together, and that was something else that the Lord had to show me. I was trying to get back to a space that the Lord wasn't calling me to, like a previous season of how I spent time with him or how I connected with him, and thinking like, okay, I need to get back to this. And it's like I couldn't, and it's partially because he was calling me to another level, a different way, and I was so stuck on trying to get myself out of it and not asking him how he wanted me to. I hope that makes sense. So with all of that being said, and knowing that God works in processes, and sometimes on our end, on our side, moving day to day, and knowing that God is not in time like we are, because time is also a creation. He's outside of time. He knows the end from the beginning from the end, the creator of all things, Alpha and Omega. He is not going through life with us like we are day to day. He already knows what's going to happen. All of our days were written before one even began. According to Psalm 139, verse 16, it says, "Your eyes saw me when I was formless. All my days were written in your book and planned before a single one of them began." So he already knows what's going to happen. He's not inside of time with us. But with that, because we are human, because we are fickle, even though we know that we have a promise from the Lord, even in seasons where we are dealing with spiritual warfare or dealing with doubt, and he eventually brings us out of it, sometimes we can feel like, oh, it's taking too long, or get to the point where we're questioning, did you even say that? Which is typical from the enemy. He literally did that in Genesis with Adam and Eve. Did God really say? So when we get to those times, because maybe a promise is taking longer to come to pass than you would like or expect, because like I said, as teenagers, sometimes we're not teenagers, but just thinking like a teenager, where oftentimes they think that they know what life is like, what things are going to be like. They may not take heed to advice until they experience it. When we get in those seasons of doubt or warfare, or just feeling like it's taking too long, in those times, I encourage you to consider God's character. God's character is consistent. He is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Nothing about his nature changes. So when you are in a season where you see him or are blinded in a way that you do not see him for how he truly is, I encourage you to sit back and remind yourself of his character. What is his character? So one verse, Deuteronomy 7 verse 9 says, "Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commands to 1,000 generations." God is faithful. He will not leave you nor forsake you. That's scripture, right? So the definition of faithful means remaining loyal and steadfast, or steadfast in affection and allegiance, firm in adherence to promises or in observance of duty. So being faithful means that he's loyal. He's not fickle. He's not for you one day and against you the next day. If he's faithful, he is loyal. He's steadfast. He's true. He's not going to change on you. He doesn't change his mind about you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He's not going anywhere. He's not taking his love from you. He's not leaving you. So first, remember in those seasons of doubt or drought or wonder that he is faithful to you and to his word. Other characteristics that we can remind ourselves of when we think of the Lord are actually the fruit of the Spirit. So the fruit of the Spirit is of his Spirit, right? So if it's fruit of his Spirit, then it's true of him. So I will read those. It is Galatians 5 verse 22 says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. The law is not against such things." That's the CSB version. I know different versions may say like forbearance or long-suffering. So some of the words may be different, but we know that they mean the same thing. So considering the character of God, he also displays these things. So God is love. He loves you. What is love? Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 to the beginning of 8. "Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy, is not boastful, is not arrogant, is not rude, is not self-seeking, is not irritable, and does not keep a record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never ends." That's the beginning of verse 8. There's more to verse 8. But that is what love is. So love is patient, love is kind. Other fruits of the Spirit. Look at that. Look at the Lord. So the Lord is love. He is joy. He's joyful. He's not dreadful. The Lord is a fun time. When y'all develop your relationship with the Lord, if you haven't already, please do, because my friends and I love to talk about the Lord. One of my friends, we will call each other and be like, "Girl, let me tell you about your father," because he is so fun. He literally cracks us up. And also, the joy of the Lord is my strength, right? So his joy, you can live life walking in his joy. He is peace. peaceful. So he will not cause anxiety. He will not cause confusion. He is peace. He will give you peace, the peace that passes all understanding. Patience. He is very patient. And when you sit back and consider his character, look back on your life sometimes, ask him to show himself to you, and he will show you different scenarios throughout your life where he has been these things. He's shown me so many times how patient he's been with me, how much self-control he has. He shows me himself as a father a lot through the way that I am with my own children. There are times where I may be impatient with my children or unkind by speaking to them harshly or rash, lacking in patience. And in those moments, sometimes I'll think about the Lord with me and how I do some of the same things that my children may do with me to him, and how patient he was with me, how much self-control he had in a situation where I had none or lost patience way too quickly with something that I do with him, but through my children. And he really is such a good father, and he's the perfect father, actually. So all of these characteristics are more than true of him. Kindness. He's been so kind to me and so good to me. Goodness is the next one. He's been so kind and so good and so gentle with me. And faithfulness is one. Like the first verse we read, he is faithful. He's more than faithful. Even when we are fickle, we are the ones that move. He's never moving. He never leaves us. Never leaves us nor forsakes us. He never leaves us. He's not walking away and saying, come to me when you get it together. He's not turning his back on us and saying, I'm not going to deal with this right now. He is faithful and true, good, kind, patient, gentle with us. Even when we come to him yelling and screaming, he'll stand there, listen. He's not afraid of our emotions. Us holding it together or lashing out is not changing him, his position, or his character. He can handle you coming to him yelling, kicking and screaming like a toddler. When you position yourself as a child before the Lord, like he says to do, you will see that we are literally his children. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 15, you could be 20, 30 years old, you could be 60, 70 plus. We are still his children. And when you position yourself as a child and look at yourself as a child, some of the things that we do are just like our children at the different stages of life and childhood. Only we're always like that with the Lord. He calls us to be childlike before him. That means so many different things. As a child, especially a young child, you are fully dependent on your parents. Kids don't think about paying bills. They don't know where these clothes and shoes are coming from. They don't know where this food is coming from. It just appears, or the parent gets it for them. Obviously, they're not thinking about anything other than whatever the parent has for them. They may ask for things. They may come to you and cry. They may come to you with a concern. If you tell them no out of discipline or just not right now, they may come and throw a fit, complain. And God really will show you yourself in children when you deal with them. Because, for example, we may go to God, whether directly to him or just throwing a fit in general, and he obviously can see us throwing a fit, upset, maybe not yelling and screaming, but basically having a tantrum to him. And his response isn't to yell back at us. His response isn't to tell us to go stand in a corner or go in your room to get over it. He listens and then responds in love. He'll either remind you of himself and that he loves you, that he cares for you, that he has a plan for you. Though you don't see it right now, you don't understand it right now, I am working things out for your good. Sometimes he will gently show you yourself and how maybe you caused a situation or what you did in the situation, how you got here. Loving correction, because sometimes correction from the Lord be feeling like a whooping. It really does. But like I said, he's a good father. He is not going to let you be wayward long term. He'll let you come to him. If you are just continuously disobedient, he may allow you to do that and then experience the consequences to show you that that's not what I have for you. That's not how I want you to act. Now come back to me and we'll get it right and everything is okay. But he's not yelling, slapping, throwing us around, or walking away from us. He's always there. He's a loving father and will show us that either through love and kindness or gentle correction. In all things that you experience in life, consider his character. Galatians chapter 5 verse 25 says, if we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. I mentioned being in step with the Lord last season, and I don't think I am yet able to make an episode specifically talking about that, but I think that that's just what season 2 is going to be. I'm excited to see what he has to say throughout this season, and I just believe that the overarching theme of season 2 is staying in step with the Lord, living by the Spirit, because yeah, I'm not ready for a whole episode on it, but I have to share that. And this is new to me, truly recognizing and living by the Spirit, because we've talked about my journey with the Lord last season. If you weren't here last season, go check it out. All the episodes are still available. The 2024 was my year of deepening in intimacy with the Lord. I did not go into it for that intentionally, but that is what happened. And he revealed that to me earlier this year, 2025. And so I have been walking in this way at least since the second half of last year, after the digging that we had to go through in the beginning of the year and developing in that the rest of the year. But lately, there have been things that the Lord has said to me, has asked me to do that make no earthly sense. It makes no sense in the flesh. Walking by the Spirit is living that way I can't even explain it right now. I just know that living by the Spirit and living and seeing things through the flesh are two completely different things. So I'll close out with this. I will read the whole section from Galatians 5. So we've been in Galatians 5 majority of this episode, but I will read the rest of it so that we can see the difference from the Spirit versus the flesh, which is what the subtitle is in my Bible. The CSB version will close out. So it's Galatians 5 verses 16 through 26. I say then, walk by the Spirit, and you will certainly not carry out the desire of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is against the Spirit, and the Spirit desires what is against the flesh. These are opposed to each other, so that you don't do what you want. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now, the works of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, moral impurity, promiscuity, idolatry, sorcery, hatreds, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, carousing, and anything similar. I am warning you about these things, as I have warned you before, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. The law is not against such things. Now those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. Y'all, thank you for coming back for season 2, for being with me through this episode. I pray that it encouraged you in some way, reminded you in some way. Remember to consider God's character in anything that he calls you to do, any life circumstance, after a promise, anything in life. Consider his character. He's never changing. His character is consistent. Remember that. Y'all, enjoy the rest of your day. Share this episode with anyone that you believe could be encouraged by it. Subscribe to all places that the podcast is available, as well as our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for personal videos, behind the scenes, extra things about the podcast, and we'll see you back here next week. Thank you. Bye.